Well, comprehensive is the word. India have defeated New Zealand by 73 runs to complete another T20I series whitewash over the Black Caps. Remember, early 2020, India had blanked New Zealand 5-0, which included a couple of super over games as well. But here, they were very, very ruthless, clinical, and absolutely completely outperformed New Zealand to seal this T20I series 3-0. Rohit Sharma leading from the front in his first fully fledged series as India captain, as India's T20 captain, and this is the beginning of the Rahul Dravid era as well, taking over from Ravi Shastri, dismantling New Zealand completely. Of course, it was a disappointing World Cup for India where they lost to Pakistan and New Zealand in the first two matches, couldn't make it to the semi-final. But this has been a good period for Indian cricket. But like Rahul Dravid said, one needs to be realistic about the series victory. It's of course a 3-0 series win over the World Cup runners-up, but New Zealand again without Kane Williamson and a couple of other crucial players. Same with India, though. Virat Kohli resting, Bumrah Shami rested, Ravindra Jadeja rested, among others. But good for some of the younger players who've come and made a mark. Surya Kumar Yadav scoring a match-winning half-century in the first game, but a couple of poor shots in the second and the third T20Is. Then Venkatesh Iyer was very impressive, especially with the bat tonight. Brief partnership there alongside Shreyas Iyer to bail India out of a bit of a spot of bother. And of course, Harshal Patel in his first two T20 matches really showing his worth and class. And it's reflective of why and how he performed so incredibly for RCB in the IPL. He was, of course, man of the match on debut, Harshal Patel, and in his second game, he picked up 2 for 26. That after scoring 18 quick runs of only 11 balls, which included a 6. Deepak Chahar again standing out with the bat, lower down the order, 21 of only 8 balls to propel India to 184 for 7. That after a superb knock, 56 of 31 for Rohit Sharma. Ishan Kishan got a start as well, 29, but India lost Surya Kumar Yadav and Rishabh Pant. In fact, Surya Kumar got out for a duck, and Rohit Sharma, the captain who was at the other end, was visibly gutted and disappointed with that shot from Surya Kumar Yadav. Mitchell Santner came in and he was leading New Zealand tonight with Tim Southey not with Tim Southey rested. Of course, Lockie Ferguson replaced Southey. Didn't have a very good night. Did he? 4 overs, 45 runs. He was completely tonked. As was Adam Milne, 4 overs, 47 runs. Trent Bolt and Isodi both conceded 31 of their 4 overs, but it was Mitchell Santner really who pulled the plug on that Indian innings with 3 quick wickets in his first couple of overs. Rohit Sharma, like I said, top scored with 56. Some crucial contributions down the order. Shreyas Iyer at number 5, Venkatesh Iyer, the two Iyers, they're getting 25 and 20 respectively. And then Harshal Patel and Deepak Chahar finishing it off in style for India. 184 for 7 is what India got. Martin Guptill in New Zealand's chase was looking very dangerous, 51 of 36, but the Black Caps kept losing wickets very, very frequently at the other end. And like Mitchell Santner, another left-arm spinner, had a field day. Akshar Patel, he came in and snared some quick wickets to completely derail and rock that New Zealand innings. 3 overs, 9 runs, and 3 wickets. He completely flipped it around. And there was no coming back for New Zealand. Of course, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, 2 overs, only 12 runs. That was another impressive performance from him. But the standout again with the ball for me was Venkatesh Iyer. We've been talking about a sixth bowling option. Even if India did not need to use him through those first two T20s, they wanted to test him in a game tonight, and they did with good returns there. Venkatesh Iyer, 3 overs, 12 runs, and he got his first international wicket. Harshal Patel, again, like I said, continued to impress. Deepak Chahar, a tad bit expensive, 26 runs in 2.5 overs, but he finally finished with a wicket. That dismissal of Lockie Ferguson, sealing a 3-0 whitewash for India. Comprehensive, like I said at the start of the show. A lot of things to take away from this game. This is a new T20 template for India. You've seen the way Rohit Sharma and Ishan Kishan started off tonight. Batting first, India have often struggled figuring out what sort of score is good enough to defend, especially with the dew on. While chasing, they made it very clinical. Of course, there was a bit of a stutter in the first game in Jaipur. Then again, there was a bit of a scare, not really a scare, but you could sense that there was this sense of urgency to finish it off. But some calm heads prevailed at the end there. In Ranchi as well, where India took that invincible 2-0 series lead. But it was primarily in Kolkata where everything really fell into place, apart from those 2 wickets, Surya Kumar Yadav, Rishabh Pant. At the start of the game, by the way, Pant did say he wants to be a consistent finisher, but both he and Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid, the coach, wouldn't be happy with that shot from Pant, and of course from Surya Kumar Yadav, if he's to be considered a more regular feature in the Indian playing 11, the shorter formats, he needs to put his head down and really back for longer periods. And it was a good platform. Imagine, I would say it was a couple of wasted opportunities for Surya Kumar Yadav and Rishabh Pant. India had got off to a flying start, very, very good start. And there was so much time left in that innings. Surya Kumar Yadav, Rishabh Pant, they could have really, really dug their feet in and gone on to play some crucial knocks. But all's well that ends well. At least for India, that's how the cookie crumbled at the end of the night. Shreyas Iyer and Venkatesh Iyer, like I said, very very important partnership after some early wickets, after some quick wickets in that middle phase. And Rohit Sharma, he was sensationally caught by Ish Sodhi off his own bowling, just a blazing return catch, and Ish Sodhi held on to it. Both Rohit and Sodhi were a little bit stunned one day when Sodhi completed that catch. But it was just so good to watch that whole innings from Rohit Sharma, an absolute T20 masterclass again, from one of the most one of the most prolific run scorers in the T20 format, in T20 internationals, especially his 30th score of over 50. Was his 26th half century to go with his four other hundreds now. And he, of course, also went past 156s in T20 internationals, only behind Martin Guptill, who was again in very very good form. Martin Guptill also has had a very good series. Has Martin Guptill, in the absence of Kane Williamson and a couple of other key New Zealand players. From now, of course, in a couple of days' time, then this the Test series gets underway. You'll see a lot of different players taking center stage for both India and New Zealand. Virat Kohli will, of course, be back for that second Test match, but before that, it'll be Ajinkya Rahane's captaincy in that first game. Rohit Sharma rested, Rishabh Pant rested, a couple of very important players rested for the Test series as well. But you'll get to see at least one new player in that middle order. That's very exciting to figure out what lies ahead for India, because this is the beginning of the second cycle of the World Test Championship. So you'll want to take a look at that uh, middle order and see how this pans out. Hi Rajdeep, thank you for joining us. Kartik Venkat is asking, by the way, why was Venkatesh not bowled much in the series? Kartik, I said that during my transmission right now. It didn't need to. It's good to have a couple of extra bowling options, one extra bowling option. But if you look at the way the innings went, the New Zealand innings went in Jaipur and Ranchi, they did not really need to bowl Venkatesh Iyer. And by then the series hadn't been decided. They now, India tonight, knew they had the series in their pocket, and they wanted to test Venkatesh Iyer. And it's okay. It's he's a batsman who can bowl pretty well from what he's shown in the IPL and in his first time bowling for India. But it's all right. I think they went with the tactics very, very clinically. They know what they're looking at, and this is why they wanted to let Venkatesh Iyer bowl at a time when the series was in the bag, when they had a lot of runs to defend, and of course there wasn't much to lose. So the stakes were relatively lower than they were in Jaipur and Ranchi, and I completely agree with with the way they went around with Venkatesh Iyer. And I think he's looking like he could be quite a good fit in at number 6. Of course, he's open for his state team. He's open for the Kolkata Knight Riders in the IPL. But obviously, with Rohit and Rahul there at the top of the order, you'd want to see somebody like Venkatesh Iyer batting at number 6 and rolling his arm for a couple of overs. Yogesh saying, hello, sir. Do you see Virat in the T20 World Cup squad? Absolutely. Virat Kohli is. You'll see him in the T20 World Cup squad, but that also depends on how the series of matches leading up to the World Cup shape up and how these players are able to take their opportunities. Look, Surya Kumar Yadav batting at number 3, he did phenomenally well in Jaipur, but then he wasted those opportunities in Ranchi, especially in Kolkata. He had such a great opportunity again to score some big important runs. He couldn't do that. Short selection, little bit of a question mark there. And like I said, Rohit at the other end wasn't all too impressed. And of course, again, it is a question of strike rate. It's a question of how you're able to manage your innings. Remember, conditions in Australia will be very different from what you saw in the UAE and from what you're seeing in India now. Bigger boundaries, faster pitches, the ball coming out of the bat much quicker. So you'll have to adapt your game. And in all fairness, India have done that well in a lot of bilateral T20I series, whether you're talking of India, Sri Lanka, South Africa, New Zealand, England, Australia. They've done that, but it's also a question of mindset over skills as well when it comes to winning T20 tournaments and World Cups, especially. There's a lot of there's a turnaround period is so short that you need to be constantly on your feet and you need to be thinking very, very quickly. But the World Cup is still 1 year away, and for India now, it's important to get that template. They need to get a couple of templates in place. And from the series, yes, the 3-0 series win is impressive, especially after what happened in the World Cup. It's a good beginning to the Rohit Dravid era, but it's important to be realistic about it and figure out the templates going into the T20 World Cup. Well, then that's all that I have for you. I'll just quickly go and check whether they have announced the man of the match, the man of the series. The post-match presentation, of course, at the end of the series will be a bit of a long affair. I'll just quickly check and tell you who the man of the match. And like I thought, it was Akshar Patel, of course. With his 3 quick wickets, he completely put paid to New Zealand's hopes, and there was no way they were going to be able to chase down 185 at that point. It's and not surprisingly, there Rohit Sharma, the Indian captain, has been named player of the series. He scored 159 runs in the series, in the 3-match series, just completely dominating with bat and with his leadership skills. So that's that for you. That's New Zealand going down 0-3 to India in another bilateral series. Second successive whitewash over New Zealand. But again, let's not get carried away with this result. Like you've seen in the past, it comes to nothing if you're not winning World Cups and ICC tournaments more regularly. Well, then that's all that I have. Late on a Sunday evening, we'll be back with a lot more through the course of this week. Remember, the test match gets underway. The first test match gets underway on the 25th of this month, which is just about a couple of 3 days away from now. I'll join you back, of course, before that to bring you an update and analysis of how India's test squad could be looking like, how India's test 11 could be looking like ahead of that first test match without Virat Kohli. Remember, India will be without Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Rishabh Pant for the first test, and of course, Virat Kohli returns for the second test match without Rohit, Rishabh Pant, who you'll definitely get to see in South Africa when the team leaves later in December. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember to subscribe to Sports Today, and I'll join you back very, very soon. Stay safe, stay cool, and take care of yourselves. Thank you. Have a good night.